Ethan Cole had 3 rules. Stay alert, stay professional, do not fall for the client. Rule 3 lasted exactly 4 days. When he first met Sabrina Vale, she was standing barefoot on the balcony railing of her penthouse. Get down. She glanced over her shoulder. Oh, you must be the new bodyguard. Get down. She tilted her head. You're very intense. You're 30 stories up. And you're very observant. Ethan crossed the balcony in 3 long strides and wrapped a firm arm around her waist, lifting her off the railing and setting her safely inside. She blinked at him. He released her immediately. Do not do that again. She grinned. You moved fast. You were in danger. I was stretching. On a railing? It's called balance. It's called reckless. She extended her hand casually. Sabrina. I know. And you are? Ethan.
Well, Ethan, she said sweetly, try to keep up. He already had a headache. Sabrina was a famous pop singer with a talent for slipping past security like it was a competitive sport. 2 nights later, Ethan stepped out of her dressing room for exactly 30 seconds. 30. When he came back, she was gone. He muttered something under his breath that would definitely violate workplace professionalism and scanned the hallway. Nothing. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Relax, I'm getting ice cream. He turned slowly toward the back exit. Of course. 5 minutes later, he found her 2 blocks away, sunglasses on, hoodie pulled up, happily standing at a street cart. She waved. Hi. You left a secured venue. I left a building. You are not supposed to leave the building. You weren't there. I was gone for 30 seconds. She handed him a cone. Chocolate. You look like you're emotionally compatible with chocolate. I am not eating that. It'll improve your mood. My mood is fine. You look like you're planning a prison break. I am planning how to prevent you from causing one. She leaned closer. Admit it. You were worried. I was doing my job. So that's a yes. He stared at her. She took a dramatic bite of her ice cream. You're kind of cute when you're angry.
He nearly choked on air. That is irrelevant. It's very relevant. A week later, her manager insisted she attend a private industry dinner. To network, Sabrina said, air quoting dramatically. Ethan stood beside her at the entrance of the upscale restaurant. You will remain within my line of sight at all times, he said. She sighed. Yes, Dad. I am not. Relax, I'll behave. She behaved for approximately 12 minutes. Then a famous producer slid into the seat beside her and leaned far too close. Ethan watched carefully. Sabrina laughed politely, but Ethan noticed the tension in her shoulders. The producer placed a hand on the back of her chair. That was enough. Ethan stepped forward smoothly. Excuse me. The producer frowned. We're in the middle of a conversation. Yes, he replied calmly, and it's over. Sabrina blinked up at him. The producer scoffed. And you are? Her date. Silence. Sabrina's eyes widened slightly, but she caught on fast. She slipped her hand into Ethan's. Yes, she said smoothly, my very intimidating date. The producer raised his hands defensively and walked off. When he was gone, Sabrina turned to Ethan. Your date? It was effective. She squeezed his hand. You're jealous. I am strategic. You didn't have to glare like that. I did not glare. You absolutely glared. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You know, for someone who claims to be professional, you just fake dated your client. It neutralized a situation. Oh, it neutralized something, she murmured. His jaw tightened. Do not start. Start what? This. She leaned in slightly. Maybe I like this. His pulse betrayed him. It's not appropriate. Neither is ditching your bodyguard for ice cream.
That was different. How? You were safe. She smiled softly. I feel safe with you. That did it. Not the teasing, not the flirting. That. Safe. Ethan exhaled slowly. You are extremely difficult. I've been told. You don't think about consequences. I do. No, you don't. She studied him carefully now, less playful. I know you worry, she said quietly, but I don't do reckless things because I want to scare you. Then why do you do them? Because when you look at me like that, like I matter, it makes everything quieter. He wasn't prepared for that answer. The noise of the restaurant faded into the background. Sabrina? Yes? You matter whether you're on a balcony railing or eating illegal ice cream. She smiled faintly. Illegal? You stole my piece for 30 minutes. She laughed softly. Then she did something unexpected. She reached up and adjusted his tie, fingers lingering just a second too long. If you're going to pretend to be my date, she whispered, you might as well commit. Before he could respond, she stood on her toes and kissed his cheek. It was brief, soft, dangerous. When she pulled back, his composure was hanging by a thread. That, he said carefully, was highly unprofessional. You started it. I absolutely did not. She slipped her hand back into his. Relax, Ethan. You can stop guarding the room for 5 seconds. I never stop guarding. She smiled knowingly. I wasn't talking about the room. He looked down at her, at the confidence, the warmth, the chaos wrapped in designer heels. He had guarded people for years, but this was the first time he wanted to guard something because he loved it. He tightened his grip on her hand. Stay close, he said quietly. She grinned. Is that an order? It's a request. Her expression softened. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. And for once, Ethan didn't feel like he was protecting a client. He felt like he was holding on to something that might finally be his. 3 nights after the fake date incident, Ethan found Sabrina exactly where he feared she'd be, on the hotel rooftop, near the edge. Wind tugged at her hair as the city glittered below. He approached quietly, but not quietly enough. You're not even surprised anymore, she said without turning. I am exhausted, Ethan replied flatly. She faced him, arms crossed. I told you I needed air. You said you were going to the lobby. The lobby has people. That is generally how lobbies work. She rolled her eyes. You tracked my phone, didn't you? Yes. That's invasive. You are on a rooftop. That's dramatic. You are near the edge. That's perspective. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. It's dangerous. Her teasing faded. You don't trust me. That's not true. It feels true. The wind howled between them. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, trying to steady the frustration building in his chest. I trust you, he said finally. I don't trust the world. She softened slightly. You can't control everything, she said. I can try. That's the problem. He looked at her then, not as a client, not as a responsibility, as a woman who was tired of being watched. You think I enjoy hovering? He asked quietly. Yes. I don't. Then why do you look at me like I'm about to break? His jaw tightened. Because if something happens to you, he said, voice low, I will never forgive myself. She stepped closer, the wind forgotten. You're not my shield, she said gently. Yes, I am. No, she whispered. You're Ethan. That hit harder than it should have. The next morning, things were tense. Professional. Too professional. He kept distance. She noticed. At rehearsal, she kept glancing toward him. At lunch, she barely teased him. By evening, the silence had grown sharp. Finally, she cornered him in the hallway. Are you mad at me? No. You're lying.
I am not. You've called me Miss Vale 3 times today. That is your name. You only use it when you're building walls. He didn't respond. She searched his face. Are you pulling away? That would be wise. Her expression flickered. Wise? I'm your bodyguard. And this, he gestured between them, complicates things. Complicates what? Judgment. Focus. She stared at him. So what? You're just going to shut this off? If that's what keeps you safe.
Her voice wavered slightly. You think loving me makes you worse at your job? He didn't answer quickly enough. Her eyes glistened, not dramatically, not for attention, just hurt. That's cruel, she whispered. He felt it immediately. I didn't mean... You did. She stepped back, folding her arms like she was holding herself together. I don't need a robot, Ethan. I need someone who cares. I do care. Then stop acting like it's a liability. Silence filled the hallway. Finally, he stepped forward. Loving you, he said carefully, terrifies me. Her breath caught. Why? Because it means there's something I can lose. She swallowed. You could lose me whether you love me or not. That truth settled heavy between them. He closed the distance fully this time. I've spent my whole life minimizing risk, he said, avoiding attachments, keeping everything controlled. And I ruin that, she said softly. You destroy it. She almost smiled. Sorry. He cupped her face gently. But, he continued, voice rougher now, you also make me want it anyway. Her eyes searched his. Want what? A life that isn't just exits and escape routes. Emotion flickered across her face. Then stop treating me like a threat to it, she whispered. He leaned his forehead against hers. I don't know how to love carefully, he admitted. Then don't. That simple. That impossible. He exhaled slowly. Then he kissed her. Not cautious. Not restrained. It wasn't a stolen moment this time. It was a decision. Her hands slid into his jacket, gripping tightly as if daring him to pull away. He didn't. When they finally separated, both slightly breathless, she looked up at him. So, she murmured, are you still going to track my phone? Yes. She laughed softly through the lingering tension. Control issues. Absolutely. She traced her thumb along his jaw. And you still think loving me makes you weaker? He thought about the rooftop, the fear, the ache. Then he shook his head. No, he said honestly, it makes me reckless. Her eyes widened slightly. Reckless how? He took her hand and placed it over his heart. Reckless enough to choose you anyway. Her teasing smile returned, gentler this time. Good, she whispered, because I'm not going anywhere. He pulled her into him, holding her tightly, not out of fear this time, but certainty. Stay behind me when we walk out, he murmured automatically. She laughed against his chest. There he is. I never left. I know. And as they stepped into the corridor together, her hand in his posture still alert, Ethan realized something unexpected. He could guard her from the world, but she was the one guarding him from becoming stone. His povey. Ethan Cole had always believed love was a distraction, a soft target, a vulnerability waiting to be exploited. Then Sabrina Vale walked into his assignment with bare feet, rooftop tendencies, and a smile that made him forget which exit he'd just mapped. And now Now he was the one distracted. The arena lights dimmed. 50,000 people screamed her name. From his position near the stage, Ethan scanned the crowd automatically. Hands, faces, movement patterns, anything out of rhythm. But his focus kept drifting upward. To her. She stood under the spotlight like she belonged to the sky itself. Confident, electric, alive. She caught his eye mid-song and smiled. Not the celebrity smile, not the rehearsed one, the private one. For him, his chest tightened. Focus. He forced himself to scan the audience again. Left section, clear. Security team in place. No visible threats. But then she did something reckless. She jumped off the stage, into the crowd. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. He was moving before he could think, pushing through security, tracking her location by instinct and sheer panic. Fans surrounded her, hands everywhere, phones flashing.
He reached her in seconds, gripping her waist firmly. "Are you insane?" he shouted over the music. She laughed breathlessly. "They love me!" "That is not the point." He maneuvered her safely back toward the stage, shielding her with his body. When they reached the stairs, she turned, eyes sparkling with adrenaline. "You jumped in after me." "Of course I did." "You didn't hesitate." His jaw tightened. "You could have been hurt." "But I wasn't." "That was not guaranteed." She studied him, softer now. "You trust me on stage?" "Yes." "But not in a crowd?" "No." She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "I knew you'd come." That did something to him. "You shouldn't test that," he said quietly. "I wasn't testing it." "Then what were you doing?" She smiled gently, trusting it. He didn't know what to say to that. Later that night, long after the concert ended and the world quieted, Ethan stood outside her hotel suite, running through security updates on his earpiece. The door opened behind him. "You're still in work mode," Sabrina said softly.
"I'm always in work mode. Come inside. I'm fine here." "Ethan?" There was no teasing in her voice. He stepped inside. She had changed into simple sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. No makeup, no stage lights. Just her. "You scared me tonight," he admitted. She leaned against the table. "Because I jumped?" "Because I couldn't control it." Her eyes sharpened slightly. "You don't need to control everything. I need to control enough." She walked toward him slowly. "You think, if you love me," she said carefully, "you'll hesitate in a dangerous moment?" He didn't answer, because that was exactly what he feared. She stopped inches away. "Look at me." He did. "When I jumped," she continued, "you moved faster than anyone. Loving me didn't slow you down." He replayed it in his head. No hesitation, no second guessing, just instinct. Instinct fueled by something deeper than duty. "You moved because you care," she said softly, "not because you're paid to." His voice was quieter now. "Caring makes the stakes higher."
"Yes, and that's dangerous. So is living like you don't feel anything." That landed hard. She reached up, placing her hand against his chest. "You think being unbreakable makes you strong," she whispered, "but letting someone matter, that's stronger." He swallowed. "I don't know how to be half in," he admitted. "Good," she said. "I don't want half." Silence stretched between them. For years, Ethan had trained himself to detach, to observe, to calculate. But with her, everything felt immediate, unfiltered. "You looked at me tonight like I was yours," she said gently. His pulse spiked. "You don't belong to anyone." "I know. That's not what I meant." He exhaled slowly. "When you're in a crowd like that," he said carefully, "every part of me locks on to you. Not the celebrity, not the client." "Then who?" "Mine." The word slipped out again. "Possessive.
Honest. Dangerous. Her breath hitched slightly, but she didn't pull away. "Say it like that again," she whispered. He brushed his thumb along her jaw. "You're mine," he said, softer this time. "Not owned, not controlled." "Then what?" "Chosen." Her eyes shimmered. "And you're mine," she replied. That word, mine, felt different coming from her. Less about guarding, more about belonging. He leaned down and kissed her slowly, deliberately. No urgency, no fear, just certainty. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I still don't like rooftops," he murmured. She smiled against his lips. "I know. I will still track your phone." "Obviously. And if you jump into another crowd, you'll catch me." "Yes." She wrapped her arms around his neck. "Good," she whispered, "because I'm not afraid when you're there." For the first time in a long time, Ethan realized something unexpected. He wasn't afraid either. Not of loving her, not of losing control, because loving Sabrina didn't weaken his instincts, it sharpened them. And as he held her close in the quiet of the hotel room, Ethan Cole understood something he never had before. Protecting her wasn't just his job anymore, it was his choice.